Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are opening a file that, quite frankly, usually comes with a sense of dread. We're looking at the pancreas.
The king of cancers.
That's the one, right. And it's earned it. It's so elusive, so aggressive, and, historically the prognosis has just been bleak. But I spent the weekend with this whole stack of research you sent over, the Cochrane Review, that Nature Subjournal study, the Cold Spring Harbor findings, and I have to say, the narrative feels different.
It is different.
It doesn't feel like we're just talking about buying time with the same old tools anymore.
That's the shift. For so long, the strategy was basically find it, cut it out if you're lucky, and if not, you just blast the whole body with chemotherapy and hope for the best.
A blunt force approach.
A very blunt force approach. But what we're seeing in this literature is a transition to siege warfare.
Siege warfare. I like that. I like that framing.
It really is. We're talking about a multi-front attack. You have researchers cutting off the enemy's communication lines with the nervous system. You've got new special forces, these NK cells, breaching the immune defenses. And then you have precision artillery proton therapy that can hit the target without, destroying the city around it.
We also have to get into that internal sabotage, the metabolic storm this thing creates. So let's break this down front by front. I want to start with the biology because that Cold Spring Harbor study, it completely upended how I thought this disease even started.
It's a total paradigm shift.
Yeah, I always just assumed a tumor was, a cluster of mutated cells acting alone, rogue agents.
Right.
But this research suggests they're actually recruiting collaborators before the tumor even really exists.
That's the hidden alliance. The study looked at the tumor microenvironment, the soil, not just the seed. And what they found is that these precancerous cells, they aren't just sitting there, they are actively signaling the body's own nervous system to come help them.
And they're using these myCAFs, Cancer-Associated Fibroblasts.
Exactly.
I initially thought of them as the construction crew, but reading deeper, they're more like the signal corps.
That is a much better analogy. These fibroblasts secrete signals to attract nerve fibers. But they're very specific. They're calling in the sympathetic nervous system.
The fight-or-flight system, which is just so counterintuitive, you'd think the body would try to attack it, not wire it into the stress response.
And that's where it gets so insidious. The cancer pulls these stress nerves into the tissue, and then those nerves release norepinephrine, the standard stress hormone.
Okay, so the nerves arrive, they dump norepinephrine. What does that do to a precancerous pancreas?
It's a supercharger. The norepinephrine binds to receptors on those fibroblast cells, and that binding triggers a massive intracellular calcium spike.
A calcium spike.
Yes, and in cell biology, a calcium spike is usually a go signal. It activates the fibroblasts, makes them hyper-aggressive, and they start remodeling the tissue to make it friendlier for cancer growth. And then you get the kicker.
The feedback loop.
The feedback loop. Because the activated fibroblasts send out more signals to attract more nerves.
So it's a self-perpetuating cycle.
Wow. Precisely.
The thing that really got me in the methodology was how they found this. I mean, we've been looking at pancreatic tissue for decades. How did we miss this web?
It's a question of dimension. Traditional pathology uses 2D slides. You take a slice of tissue, right? In 2D, a nerve fiber just looks like a dot.
It looks like noise.
It looks like noise, exactly. It looks disconnected. But these researchers used a new 3D imaging technique, and when they did that, the dots connected. It revealed this thick, dense, interconnected web of nerves just winding through everything.
Like a root system.
Your root system, it's the perfect description.
It's terrifying, but
yeah,
it also implies a target. If we know the line is being tapped, can we cut the wire?
We can.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the study. This neural invasion happens so early. So if we can block that signal, we might have a preventative strategy.
And they tested this in mice.
Yeah.
They just cut the sympathetic nerves chemically.
They did, a sympathectomy. And the result was a reduction in tumor growth by nearly 50%.
50%, that's huge. And the drug they used wasn't some, experimental compound 10 years away from approval. It was doxazosin.
A standard generic blood pressure medication. Been on the shelves for years.
So it just blocks the receptors. The nerves are making the call, but the cancer cells can't pick up the phone.
Exactly right. It creates silence. And it suggests we have to stop thinking of cancer as just a genetic accident and start seeing it as a systemic problem. Our stress, our neurochemistry, it's all part of the fuel.
Okay, so that's front one, disrupt the supply lines. Let's move to front two, the immune system. Pancreatic cancer is famously a cold tumor, isn't it?
meaning the immune system pretty much ignores it, or more accurately is locked out.
The tumor builds that dense wall, the stroma, so T cells can't get in. But this study you sent from signal transduction and targeted therapy, it's talking about a different kind of soldier. NK cells.
Natural killer cells.
Help me distinguish these from the T cells we always hear about with CAR-T. My understanding is T cells are like detectives. They need a specific suspect.
That's a great way to put it. T cells are adaptive. They need an antigen, a specific protein that's like a mugshot. If the cancer hides that mugshot, which it's very good at doing, the T cell just walks right past.
It doesn't see the enemy.
Exactly. But NK cells are different. They're innate. They don't need a mugshot. They rely on pattern recognition. They're looking for cells that are just acting stressed or showing abnormal markers.
So instead of looking for a specific face, they're looking for suspicious behavior.
That's it. They're the patrol officers on the beat. They see something wrong, they take it out.
And the study used allogeneic NK cells.
Yeah.
So these are from a donor, not the patient's own. Why is that important?
Because a patient with advanced cancer usually has an exhausted immune system. Their own NK cells are often dysfunctional. Using allogeneic cells from a healthy donor is like bringing in fresh, fully active troops.
So they combine these donor cells with standard Gemcitabine and S-1. Let's talk numbers. We have to be careful with hype here. They reported a disease control rate of 73.7%.
Which is a very strong signal.
But let's clarify, DCR doesn't mean cured.
No, absolutely not. And that's crucial for you to understand. Disease control rate is the total of patients whose tumors shrank, plus the patients whose tumors just stopped growing. They became stable.
Okay.
In a cancer this aggressive, just hitting the pause button is a win.
And that pause translates to survival. The median overall survival was 10.8 months.
Now, I can hear people thinking 10 months, that's it. But you have to grade on a curve. This was for advanced metastatic disease. In that context, pushing the median survival to nearly a year is a really significant improvement over the historical baseline.
And without the kind of massive toxicity we see with, say, CAR-T therapy, those cytokine storms.
That's the other huge advantage here. NK cells tend to be much safer. You don't typically see that runaway inflammation. The safety profile was very manageable, which could make it an option for more frail patients.
Okay, so we've got nerve blockers, immune assassins, but we have to talk about the heavy artillery, chemotherapy. I went through that Cochrane systematic review, and they're famously strict.
They are the gold standard. If Cochrane says it works, it works.
And their conclusion was pretty clear. The era of single drug treatment is over.
Absolutely. Using gemcitabine alone just isn't the standard for fit patients anymore. The review confirmed that combination therapies, FOLFIRINOX or gemcitabine plus nab-paclitaxel, they just extend life better. Period.
But there's a cost, right? We're buying time, but we are paying for it in toxicity.
That is the constant negotiation in oncology. FOLFIRINOX is a 4-drug regimen. It is brutal. Neuropathy, fatigue, severe digestive issues. It's effective, but it takes a huge toll.
Which brings us to this new development, triple therapy, or NALIRFOX. The key word here seems to be liposomal.
This is where chemistry meets nanotechnology.
So explain the liposome. It's more than just a bubble carrying the drug, isn't it?
Think of it like a nano-engineered delivery vehicle. It's made of fat molecules. They take irinotecan, which is a powerful chemo drug, and they encapsulate it.
Okay.
This solves 2 problems. First, irinotecan usually breaks down really fast in the blood. The liposome protects it, keeps it around longer.
Better pharmacokinetics.
Right. But second, and this is key for pancreatic cancer, these liposomes are better at getting through that dense stromal fortress. They're like a Trojan horse. They slip into the tumor tissue and then release the drug slowly right where you need it.
So a higher concentration inside the tumor and less damage to the rest of the body.
That's the goal, a better therapeutic index. And the guidelines are showing that this is moving from a second-line plan to a first-line option.
But it's not for everyone. I kept seeing this term, ECOG score.
Yes. The Eastern Cooperative Oncology Group score. It's a scale from 0 to 5 to quantify how well a patient is functioning.
It's more than just, are you tired?
Oh, much more. A score of 0 is fully active, no restrictions, like you or me. A 1 is restricted in strenuous activity, but can still do light work. Once you hit a 2, you're up and about more than half the day, but you can't work.
And a 3 is in a bed or chair more than half the day.
Right. And the cutoff for these aggressive therapies is strict. If a patient is a 0 or a 1, we can throw the kitchen sink at them, triple therapy. If they're a 2, maybe we scale back to preserve quality of life. For a 3 or 4, aggressive chemo could do more harm than good.
It's about matching the weapon to the soldier's stamina.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Speaking of weapons, let's pivot to physics.
Yeah.
Protons.
Precision bombardment.
Right. So most people know radiation uses X-rays. But the pancreas is in just a nightmare location for X-rays.
The worst possible real estate. It's deep in the body, right in front of the spine. And look at the neighbors. The stomach, the small intestine, the liver, the kidneys, all very sensitive.
And X-rays are through and through radiation.
Exactly. A photon beam enters, hits the tumor, but then it just keeps going. It has an exit dose. So if you aim at the pancreas, you're absolutely going to irradiate the kidneys or the gut sitting right behind it.
Which means you have to turn the power down.
You have to dose limit. You can't give a lethal dose to the tumor because you destroy the patient's kidneys.
Enter the proton. How does a proton beam solve that exit dose problem?
It's pure physics. Protons are heavy, charged particles. They have mass. We can accelerate them to a very specific speed so that they travel a precise distance into the body, say exactly 12 centimeters, and then stop.
They solve?
They stop. And when they stop, they dump all their energy. It's called the Bragg peak. Imagine a depth charge. It goes down through the water harmlessly and then detonates at a specific depth.
And beyond that point?
Nothing. Zero exit dose.
So the kidneys behind the tumor get virtually no radiation.
Correct. And because that healthy tissue is spared, the doctors can safely ramp up the dose on the tumor itself. They can finally hit it with a truly ablative, killing dose.
That is surgical precision without a scalpel.
It's physics overcoming anatomy.
We've covered a lot of high-tech stuff, but I want to spend our last few minutes on the human element.
Yeah.
Because the sources all describe this as a consuming disease.
A metabolic storm?
The stats are just stark. 80 to 90% of patients lose a lot of weight. And it's not just a poor appetite.
No, it's cachexia. The tumor actually hijacks the body's metabolism. It ramps up the resting energy expenditure, so a patient is essentially running a marathon 24/7, just lying in bed.
So eat a sandwich isn't the answer.
It helps, but you need more. You need an active nutritional defense. The pancreas makes digestive enzymes, right? When it's compromised, patients can't absorb nutrients.
So enzyme replacement is non-negotiable.
It's standard of care. But the sources also specifically call out nutrients like omega-3s, fish oil.
Is that just for general health?
No, it's functional here. High doses of omega-3s can help dampen the systemic inflammation that drives all that muscle wasting. It's trying to put out the metabolic fire.
This leads to the final concept from the guidelines. Total pain. I found this so profound. We think of pain as just, my stomach hurts.
That's somatic or visceral pain. And pancreatic cancer has plenty of that, this deep, boring pain. But total pain acknowledges that suffering is so much wider than just nerve signals.
It breaks it down into 4 dimensions. Physical is one.
Physical, psychological, social, and spiritual.
Psychological is the anxiety, the depression. Social, that's the loss of your role. You can't work, you can't be the provider.
And spiritual pain. This is the one medicine so often ignores. The loss of meaning, the why me, the anger.
You can't treat spiritual pain with morphine.
You can't. If you just sedate the patient, you haven't fixed the suffering, you've just silenced it. That's why the best centers now use a whole team. You need the oncologist, yes, but you also need the psychologist, the social worker, the spiritual counselor.
The guidelines mentioned assessment tools for patients who might be too weak to talk. The FLACC scale.
Right. Face, legs, activity, cry, consolability. It's an observational scale.
So you're watching. Is the brow furrowed? Are the legs tense or kicking?
Exactly. It's to make sure that even in the final stages, when a patient might be nonverbal, we aren't letting them suffer in silence. We're treating them as a conscious person until the very end.
It feels like the whole approach is becoming so much more humane, so much more holistic.
It has to be. You're treating a human being who has a tumor, not just a tumor that's in a host.
So, to bring this all together, we started with the king of cancers, a diagnosis that felt like an ending. But this research suggests the king is under siege.
The walls are being breached. We have better intel on that nervous system alliance. We have better weapons with liposomal drugs and protons. We have new allies in NK cells. And we have a much better idea of how to support the patient through the fight.
It's moving from a hopeless diagnosis to a strategic one. It's not solved, but it's becoming manageable. And I want to leave the listener with that thought about the nervous system again.
The stress connection.
Yeah. I mean, if our own fight or flight system is literally being hardwired into tumors to help them grow,
it just makes you wonder.
It raises a very big question.
What does that say about our modern high-stress lives and the signals we're sending to our bodies every single day? It feels like the mind-body connection isn't just philosophy anymore.
It's hard biology. And managing that stress might be a form of preventative medicine we're only just beginning to understand.
Something to chew on. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Stay curious.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.